Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
The Denver Nuggets have taken a 2-0 lead over the Lakers in the Western Conference Finals. What is it going to take for LA to turn things around? Also, the Panthers and Hurricanes started the East Finals with a thriller, and the New York Giants are still negotiating with star Saquon Barkley. I'm Kainani Stevens, in for Peter Bukowski.
I'm Peter Bukowski, starting your day with the can't-miss stories and biggest debates in sports. You're Locked On Sports Today.
Searching all major sports. Found.
Let's start with the biggest story.
All right, we're 2 games into the Western Conference Finals in the NBA. Denver now has a 2-0 lead over the Lakers. Andy, we were just talking, frustrating, probably the word that comes to mind.
Yeah, I mean, the Lakers down the stretch of this game, particularly in the fourth quarter, but you could see some of that momentum building towards the end of the third. Offensively, I thought they just were not executing particularly well. There were shot selection issues. I think there were some shot design issues, and those often led to Denver being able to get in transition, scramble the Lakers defense, and credit where credit is due. Jamal Murray got legitimately hot, and a lot of those shots that he was making in the fourth quarter, I think were decently contested, decently defended. You know, when he gets going, I think Jamal Murray can be as tough as any guard in the league to stop. I mean, once he starts getting that confidence swelling, Jamal Murray can be a real handful.
We talked a little bit, too, about, a must-win, if you will, but it felt like the Lakers were kind of getting themselves.
With me, this one was must-win?
It was a must-win, and they did not.
Now that you're looking at the Lakers down 0-2, I think we can all agree it was must-win.
They should have won that, yeah. That would have been helpful.
It's preferable.
Yes. And a little bit late, like we were talking, they make those runs, but then it's like they're almost like they want to get it back so quick that it just ended up being missed long shots. And that kind of was their undoing a little bit in the fourth. Yeah.
I mean, you don't want to give Denver this ability between Jamal Murray pushing, Nikola Jokic pushing, Michael Porter Jr. possibly being able to set up so he can get a scrambled defender on him, because that guy can shoot over just about anybody the Lakers would put on him, and his release is fast. I think the Lakers needed to be more methodical. LeBron 0 of 6 from behind the arc. To be perfectly honest, I'm not sure. I mean, I'd have to look at every single one, but I don't remember thinking any one of those threes, oh, that was necessary. Particularly in the fourth quarter, like the self-created pull-up threes early in the clock. They're not great shot selection, period. But for LeBron, who has not been shooting the three well in the playoffs or this season, they're just not good shots for him to be taking. And to give LeBron credit, I thought defensively he was terrific in this game.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily strong company to choose from, but he may have been the best Laker defending in transition tonight. But those shots hurt, and they break up momentum, and they also again put the Lakers defensively in a bad position.
For me, I think frustrating just watching was Anthony Davis really got to me, because obviously he's not doing great, not scoring a ton, but then I felt like, there wasn't a ton of rebounding effort there. It was almost just like a wasted effort from him.
Well, I mean, AD had 14 rebounds. And it was an interesting thing with AD, because typically when Anthony Davis has an off night scoring, it's going to get chalked up to a lack of aggressiveness. He doesn't try to assert his will on the game. He's just floating around. And that, by the way, can be true with Anthony Davis. Mm-hmm. This was not a game where I thought AD struggled offensively or didn't produce because he wasn't being assertive. He got to the line 11 times, and that's with 15 field goal attempts on top of it. So I think AD was looking to be aggressive offensively, looking for his shot. He just wasn't hitting them. He just was missing mid-range jumpers that he normally hits. certainly can hit, missing shots around the rim that he absolutely can make. He just, the shots were not falling for him. And LeBron had a decent stat line overall, 22 points, 9 of 19 from the field, but 0 of 6 from behind the arc. But also he missed 3 or 4 nearly point blank shots at the rim, which in a 5-point loss come back to haunt you.
Mm-hmm. How do they turn the page? Obviously, 0-2 is huge. You just try to kind of blank slate it as much as you can and take it one game at a time when you get back home. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, they're going to have a really great crowd inside the crypto, whatever we're calling it these days. The fans have been terrific in these playoffs. They've been great as the season started to turn positively for the Lakers. They've played exceptionally well at home this season. And, they can't, there's no such thing as moral victories, and being down 0-2 is a problem. But there is no reason for them to believe they can't beat Denver. They threw out the mother of all real comebacks in game 1 and came pretty close to closing the thing out. I think gave Denver a legit scare. This game was tight, although they obviously got outplayed down the stretch, which is a problem. But it's not that they can't compete with Denver, because they clearly can. Yeah. But what I do think these two games have shown is that their margin for error is smaller than Denver's. Right. The Lakers can play with Denver, but I think Denver doesn't need to be quite as sharp as the Lakers do. So the onus is going to be on them back in LA for these next 2 games to play pretty close to mistake-free.
Absolutely. Uphill battle. We'll have to see how things go in game 3. Andy will check up with you then. Thank you as always. Stay up to date all year long on the Los Angeles Lakers by subscribing to Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Lakers on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube. Thanks for making Locked On Sports Today your first listen. Coming up, the Panthers and Hurricanes started off the East Finals with a thriller. Are you looking for a delicious snack, but you don't want all the sugar and calories? I have the perfect thing for you. It's Built Bars. They are made with 100% real chocolate, makes them taste great, but they're good for you too. They have 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, and 17 grams of protein in every bar. You can always get them at Built.com, but now you can buy them in person as well. You can head over to Walmart, go to that pharmacy section to get the 4-bar boxes, or you can do what I do and go to Sam's Club, where you can get a 13-bar box, stock up. They have the brownie batter puff and churro puff made with that protein infused marshmallow, my personal favorite. Give it a try. You can thank me later. The New York Jets made waves this offseason by trading for future Hall of Famer Aaron Rodgers, but now they might be at risk of losing star defensive tackle Quinnen Williams. The Jets and the 25-year-old All-Pro are reportedly very far apart in their negotiations. Next week at the spring owners meeting, the San Francisco 49ers and Levi Stadium are expected to announce that they will be the host of Super Bowl 60. Super Bowl 60 would be the second Super Bowl hosted in Levi Stadium since it was built back in 2014. A late surge by the LA Angels gives them a 6-5 win over the Baltimore Orioles yesterday.
I know there's a writer's strike happening right now, and there's no scripted television being made right now, but the Angels are the most dramatic show on television. What's going on, everybody? It's John Frisch, one half of Locked On Angels. The Halos get a much-needed W on Thursday, winning the game against the Orioles 6-5. They split this series. It was a 4-game set against the Orioles, and man, they needed this in the worst way. It was a back-and-forth game. Shohei Ohtani, in his first at-bat, got a solo shot. Trout hit a 2-run home run, and then the Orioles tied it up. The Angels took the lead again. The Orioles took the lead, and then the Angels added 2 thanks to a go-ahead single RBI from Shohei Ohtani that made it 6-5. Hunter Renfroe had a game-saving play with a throw to second base to get Adam Frazier out. Mike and I are going to talk about this one on Locked On Angels. We hope you'll join us. Light that halo up, baby.
Aaron Judge has hit 6 home runs in the last 6 games, and the Yankees beat their division rivals in the Toronto Blue Jays.
This is Stacey Gasulias of Locked On Yankees, and I think it's safe to say that Aaron Judge likes playing in Toronto. He finished this series 6 for 14 with 4 home runs. He hit another one on Thursday night and nearly hit a second one. They called it back for a double. They had to review it. Unbelievable performance by Aaron Judge, considering what happened on Monday night and the stuff that was being said about him and the rumors swirling and the awful things that people were saying. And, you know, other players would shrink under that kind of pressure, but not Aaron Judge. No. So now he has 32 home runs against Toronto in his career, which is the most by any Yankee. He surpassed Jorge Posada, who had 31 home runs against them. So pretty good company for Aaron Judge. The Yankees win Thursday night's game by a score of 4-2. Nestor Cortez has his best start of the season. He looks like he's turning things around. Anthony Volpe hits another home run, and it's just an all-around good performance for the Yankees as they win 3-4 in Toronto. Up next, Cincinnati. We have a preview of that series. We have a recap of this game and more. So please watch the next Locked On Yankees.
Quite the kickoff to the Eastern Conference Finals in the NHL. We're in the wee hours of the morning for those that didn't stay up through all the many, many overtimes. Obviously, you can't predict something like this is going to happen, but this is just how ridiculous the Stanley Cup playoff finals can be. Jared Ellis, what was going through your mind through every single period here tonight?
Well, first off, it was, I want to go to bed.
Yeah.
But starting off with the Hurricanes, it was, pretty frustrating in the first 2 periods of regulation. You could tell they had a break. They had some issues getting to their game. There some poor puck management, turnovers. Their forechecking wasn't there. That is usually really good. But then, in the third period, they're able to get to their game. And that was kind of when it really felt like they were making a push and like, all right, they could, seriously win this game. And then obviously, we get into overtime after overtime after overtime. And I will say, when that Florida goal was overturned at the start of the first overtime, it did feel like that gave the Hurricanes a bit of a boost. It was like, oh, heck yeah, we got this. That wasn't going to count. And, ultimately at the end of the game, it felt like it was just mistakes were being made. They played over 2 games of hockey here. So it just the mistakes that come along with fatigue. You can't put that goal on Frederik Andersen, though.
Certainly. I mean, everybody's tired at that point. We should talk about that, though, because, you're starting a game and starting a series, and you've already played 2 games of hockey. And how will this affect everybody going forward? Obviously, we'll have to wait and see. But do you feel like Carolina, obviously they got the win, so that's always great. But do you feel like they're, well rested enough that hopefully they can withstand this going the next couple games?
It's going to be very interesting to see how game 2 goes. Obviously, they're down 1-0 in the series now, so there's going to be that aspect of not wanting to go down 2-0. So there's going to be that level of desperation that they're going to be playing with. But on the flip side of that is game 2 is on Friday. Or game 2 is on Saturday, excuse me, and it's now after 2 a.m. on Friday. So they're not going to have as much rest as was initially planned. And that goes for both teams as well. I think we're going to see, obviously game 2 is going to be a very hard fought game, of course, but I do think you're going to see fatigue in game 2 from both sides. And it's going to be a very interesting game because you don't really see stuff like this very often. This was the first conference final game to go 4 overtimes since 1951. So it has been a very long time since we've seen something like this. And game 2 is going to be a very different beast than game 1.
It's always mentally kind of hard to shake a loss in a series. Hockey does it pretty well for the most part. But with something like this, there's so much dramatics put into it. Do you feel like the way Carolina's kind of built that they mentally can do something like that? What's coach going to be saying to them, going into this game 2?
Yeah, mentally, I am fully confident that they'll be there and be ready to go. Rod Brindamore, he's a phenomenal coach. He's played for years and years and years. He's won a Stanley Cup. He knows how to win. He knows how to connect with his players. We've seen that over the past 5 years since he's taken over as head coach and just everything he's been able to do to turn this franchise around. So the mental aspect isn't going to be a problem. This team, they know what to do in the playoffs. They have, tons of guys with playoff experience. This isn't the team that we saw in 2019 when they ended their decade-long playoff drought. These guys know how to win in the playoffs, and they're ready to get the win in Game 2.
All right, we're going to have to wait and see. We've already seen a lot of hockey, got our money's worth already, but there's still a whole series left to go. Jared, thanks for joining us. We will talk to you later on, I'm sure.
Yep, thank you for having me.
Stay up to date all year long in the Carolina Hurricanes by subscribing to Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Hurricanes, wherever you get your podcasts from, and on YouTube. Coming up, will the New York Giants be able to extend Saquon Barkley long-term?
If Saquon's agent says, you know what, we are going to have you play on the franchise tag this year in 2023, and we are going to hedge our bets that you have another big year, that you stay healthy, that you, ball out, that the Giants, who will have other guys they need to address next year in the offseason, whose contracts are coming up for renewal, will not put the franchise tag on you a second time. If that is the approach that Saquon's agent is taking, it's a very, very dangerous and foolish approach. And here's why. Saquon Barkley has a spotty injury history. We all know that. We know about the torn ACL. We know about the high ankle sprain that he had the year after. He had a high ankle sprain actually the year before he had the ACL. And even last year, even though he played through, in 16 of the games for which he was activated in, he still dealt with a shoulder injury. So here's why digging in doesn't really behoove Barkley or benefit him in any way. If his agent says, okay, you know what, we're going to hedge our bets on your preparation, your skills, et cetera, folks, all it takes is for one freak injury, whether it be somebody stepping on the back of his foot, like what happened a couple years ago in Dallas when he had the high ankle sprain, whether it be somebody rolling into his knees, whether it be him taking a wrong step on either a turf field or a grass field, one freak injury is all it takes. And if Saquon ends up missing any time whatsoever due to injury, his production is going to drop, and his chances of getting the type of payday that he might be looking for will drop right along with it. It's too big of a gamble. All right. The franchise tag, as we know, once signed, will pay him or guarantee him at least $10.1 million. Great. That's just wonderful. But if you're Saquon, doesn't it make more sense to come to some sort of agreement on a multi-year deal that'll guarantee you a lot more than $10.1 million?
And finally, in the fourth quarter on Thursday night, Denver Nuggets guard Jamal Murray made a 3-point field goal, then yelled bang at Mike Breen. Our Locked On sources are still trying to confirm whether he was doing an impression of Mike Breen or the basketball meeting the rim after LeBron James shoots a three. Tough one. Thanks for making Locked On Sports Today your first listen. Go find your favorite team's Locked On podcast. Make that your second listen. Coming up on Monday, which teams will have the upper hand in the conference finals? At least until tomorrow, stay Locked On Sports Today.
Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
For more episodes of Locked On Sports Today, go to our video on demand. Click on Sports at the top of your screen. There, you'll find past episodes of Locked On Sports Today, plus other Locked On shows on demand.